Game 2 of the FIDE World Championship Match, as presented by Giuoco, well, was going to be an intriguing affair, especially after yesterday's Game 1, where Ding Liren won with the black pieces against Gukesh. This time it was Ding with the white pieces against Gukesh, and we were all curious to see what would happen on the board.
That's right. Ding started in fine fashion, continuing his momentum from Game 1. He opened with his king's pawn, a small surprise. He's normally known for the queen's gambit, for the Catalan. Totally different openings there, so maybe unexpected, that choice there against Gukesh. And a very kind of timid start to this game, we thought at first, with the Italian game. And it was only later, after a very symmetrical start, that Ding revealed his true plans. It was here we were talking about maybe a white bishop coming out to pin the black knight, Gukesh deciding to prevent this. That Ding revealed his hand, and Jovanka, the first novelty of the game.
Yeah, this is a really intriguing position, actually, because we have a lot of tension between the bishops. In fact, every single bishop on the board can capture the other one. So amidst all this confusion, it was here where Ding, as you mentioned, unleashed this novelty, which was just to ignore everything with the bishops and just to push the A-pawn. And what was really interesting here was that, well, we later found out that this was all kind of been played before, analyzed before on the live cloud yesterday. So was it Team Ding that was uncorking this preparation? Well, we suspected so.
Yeah, we did some investigation. It does look like a bit of a leak from Ding's camp there. But of course, the players weren't aware. Gukesh wasn't aware that this was deep preparation. Here, after a trade of bishops, he had the opportunity to get greedy. Gukesh, he could have brought the black bishop across to go and grab a pawn, but this would have led to some complications. I believe if the bishop had moved, Ding would have leapt in with his knight and it would have become very tense, this game. Instead, Gukesh wanted to play it safe. He simply castled his king, and after a trade of bishops, soon a trade of queens, we found ourselves straight in an endgame. Yeah. And Jovanka, it wasn't that simple though. It
wasn't that simple, but it was also still within Ding's preparation, because according to that live database, what happened next was actually somewhat familiar. So the rook had swung over to d8 and the lines were kind of moving the rooks away, but there was a really cool computer line at white's disposal.
That's right. So in this position, Ding played a very sophisticated move, a very deep move. He didn't want to trade rooks. He thought that might fizzle out to a draw. So he shuffled his rook across one square. But it was revealed in the press conference later that computers and Fishy Anand had also spotted that white knight could have jumped back. This leads to some complicated variations. For more details, check out that press conference. But the white knight could have leapt forward, going for some of the black queenside pawns. This would have actually been a sacrifice. After a trade of rooks, the black knight gets sidelined, but grabs a pawn in the process. White's knight leaping forward, and actually this would have given Ding an advantage long term. But instead, he shuffled his rook across, and we saw some maneuvering over the next few turns.
Yes, and this is the kind of position where it's all about those small advantages. Black's position optically looks good, but white is basically saying that, hey, there's no entry squares, and I'm simply going to sound the retreat for a few moves and then try to inch forward. So we did see Ding avoid the trade of knights and drop his knight back and get ready just to make those gradual improvements.
Yeah, we thought here that Ding actually had an advantage, that his opening was a big success. We thought he'd push a pawn forward, maybe centralize his king later. When given the opportunity, the white knight can go for some targets. This pawn is especially vulnerable due to the fact that white controls a bit more space on this queenside flank. But ultimately, Ding wasn't able to find a constructive plan. Gukesh here was very patient, but very sensible in his approach. Yeah. And yeah, he really neutralized Ding.
Right. And what was really impressive, though, Gukesh took his time. Every move he considered whether he should be going active, perhaps breaking forward with a pawn to f5. But he decided, no, let's go solid. Instead, just bide the time, be patient. And Ding, I think Ding was the one that actually sensed. So was a little bit impatient here. He didn't quite know which way to go forward. So that's why he chose to continue in the way that he did.
Yeah, in this position, if Ding had wanted to win, had wanted to continue the battle, if he was feeling a bit more confident, perhaps, then he would have pushed his pawn forward to h4, kept the tension, and at least asked Gukesh what he was doing, what plans he could come up with. But instead, Ding pretty much silently offered a draw by retreating his knight. Now, offering a trade of knights, Gukesh says no, steps back, and eyeing up this loose straggler on a5. And Ding brings his knight back, saying, yes, we can trade one set of rooks, but that doesn't lead anywhere for black. Gukesh says, okay, I'll jump back in. And a bit of a dance now between the knights to end the game, Jovanka.
Right, and we were still pondering whether Ding would actually repeat the position and maybe try and trade off rooks and just simply try to nurture an advantage. But ultimately he decided, no, this was objectively probably a draw. There was no need to actually exert any more, use any more energy on the position. And yeah, a World Championship match, it is a marathon. Better to conserve the energy and just put that energy to use in later games. So that's why we saw a shortish draw.
Yeah, quick draw, slight anticlimax, but the players, they will be back for another big fight in Game 3.